I don't even know where to start. Maybe with a warning. What I'm about to tell you isn't pretty. It isn't noble or admirable. It's just real, messy, complicated, and full of contradictions. The kind of story people like to judge from the outside. But if you've ever lived something like it, you know judgment doesn't help much. My name isn't important, not really. If I tell you who I am, you'll probably want to search me up, fit me into some category. Instead, think of me as an ordinary man. Mid-30s, married, stable job, decent apartment, the kind of guy neighbors smile at without remembering my name. On paper, I had the life most people would envy. A loyal wife, a respectable career, and no visible chaos. But what the paper never shows is the hunger. I met my wife, Elena, when we were 24. She was calm, steady, everything I thought I needed after years of reckless choices in women and friendships. She had this quiet strength, like she could walk through a storm without flinching. I loved her certainty, her moral compass that never seemed to waver. With her, I felt safe. We married 3 years later, bought a small place together, and built a life made of routines. At first, the routines were comforting. Breakfast at the same time, work, dinners together, weekends with her parents or mine. But slowly, those same routines began to suffocate me. The spark that used to flare when she touched my hand or laughed at my stupid jokes dimmed into something softer, quieter, respect, friendship, companionship. I didn't realize until later that I'd started craving danger. It began innocently enough. A new hire at work. Her name was Anna. She was younger than me by nearly a decade, full of that restless energy I hadn't felt in years. She'd breeze into the office with a coffee in one hand, her hair always a little messy, like she didn't care about perfection. She wasn't conventionally stunning, but she had that dangerous allure, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone turn their head without even trying. The first time we talked beyond work, she asked me a question that sliced deeper than she could have known. Do you ever feel like you're just watching your life happen instead of living it? I laughed it off, but the truth is, yes, every damn day. That night, lying beside Elena in our neatly made bed, I stared at the ceiling and thought about Anna's words. Elena was already asleep, her breathing steady, one arm stretched across the blanket. I loved her. God, I did. But love wasn't enough to drown out the ache that question had ripped open. Over the next weeks, Anna and I grew closer. Little things at first. Sharing lunch, jokes only we understood, lingering looks that lasted too long. I told myself it was harmless, that I could control it. But deep down, I knew I was playing with fire. Every time her eyes locked with mine, I felt that old thrill I hadn't felt since I was 21 and reckless. The guilt came too, creeping in late at night. I'd lie awake, Elena's body warm against mine, and ask myself why I wasn't satisfied. Why wasn't her love enough? What kind of man risks everything for a fleeting rush of blood? A dangerous spark. And yet, I couldn't stop. One evening, after a long day, Anna suggested we grab a drink. I hesitated. My mind screamed no, but my body betrayed me. We ended up in a dimly lit bar, the kind where no one cares who you are or why you're there. We talked for hours, about work, about childhood, about dreams neither of us had told anyone else. She listened in a way Elena hadn't in years, not because Elena didn't care, but because she thought she already knew me. And then, somewhere between the second and third drink, Anna touched my hand. Just a graze, light as air, but it felt like lightning had struck. I didn't pull away. That was the night everything shifted. When I came home past midnight, Elena was asleep. I stood in the doorway watching her, my chest heavy with guilt and desire all tangled together. I hadn't kissed Anna, hadn't crossed that invisible line yet, but in my heart, I knew I already had. Because infidelity doesn't start with sex. It starts with a secret you want to keep. From that moment on, my life split into two versions. The husband who smiled at Elena over dinner, and the man who lived for stolen glances at work. I told myself I could manage it, that I was strong enough to balance both worlds. But if I'm being honest, I think part of me wanted to fall. I wanted the chaos, and soon I got more than I ever bargained for. The first kiss didn't happen in some grand, cinematic way. There was no rain, no music swelling in the background. It happened in the quiet corner of the office parking lot, on a Wednesday evening when most people had already gone home. We'd stayed late working on a project. At least that's what we told ourselves. The truth was, neither of us wanted the day to end. When she suggested walking me to my car, I didn't protest. I should have. God knows I should have. It was cold that night, the kind of biting chill that makes your breath visible. She pulled her coat tighter, and I remember thinking how fragile she looked in that moment, though fragile was the last thing Anna really was. We stood there for a moment, neither of us speaking, the air thick with everything unsaid. And then she just stepped closer. "You ever feel like we're pretending?" she asked softly, her eyes searching mine. Before I could answer, she leaned in. Her lips brushed mine, tentative at first, testing. My body went rigid, my brain screaming to stop. But then I gave in. The kiss deepened, and all the guilt, the hesitation, dissolved into raw, desperate need. When we finally pulled apart, both of us were breathing hard. "This is wrong," I whispered. "I know," she said, and then she smiled, that crooked smile that had undone me from the start. "But it doesn't feel wrong, does it?" Didn't. That was the problem. From then on, it was like a dam had burst. We tried to resist, to pretend we could go back to being just colleagues, just friends. But once you taste that kind of fire, nothing else compares. Lunch breaks turned into stolen hours. Business trips became excuses. Every touch was electric. Every kiss a secret that burned hotter because it was forbidden. And yet, every night I went home to Elena. She didn't suspect at first. Elena trusted me completely. That trust was a knife twisting in my chest every time she asked about my day and I lied through my teeth. Just work. Same as always. I could barely look her in the eye. There were moments I almost confessed. Nights when I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding with the weight of my own betrayal. But then I'd think about her face, the way she'd crumble if she knew, and I couldn't do it. I told myself I was protecting her. The truth was I was protecting myself. I wanted both, the stability of Elena and the wildfire of Anna. Of course, you can't live like that forever. Secrets rot from the inside. It was jealousy that nearly exposed us first. Anna hated how I kept her in the shadows, how she had to hide in plain sight. She'd get quiet when I mentioned Elena, her eyes going dark, her voice sharp. "Does she even touch you the way I do?" she asked once, her hand on my chest, her breath hot against my ear. "Anna," I didn't know what to say. "You're mine when you're here," she said. "But the second you go home, I don't exist. Do you know how that feels?" I did, because I felt it too. The split life, the constant tug of war. And yet, I couldn't let her go. The passion was addictive, the danger intoxicating. With Anna, I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. She saw me, not the husband, not the reliable coworker, but the restless, flawed man underneath. The worst part? I loved them both, in different ways for different reasons. Elena was my anchor. Anna was my storm. One evening, after another night tangled in Anna's sheets, I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My face was flushed, my shirt wrinkled, my eyes wild. For a moment, I didn't recognize myself. Who was this man? A liar, a coward, someone living on borrowed time. That night, when I came home, Elena surprised me. She had made my favorite dinner, lasagna, just like my mother used to make. She lit candles, poured wine, smiled at me with that same steady love she'd always given me. "I thought you deserved something special," she said. I nearly broke down right there. The contrast was unbearable. Her tenderness against the backdrop of what I had just done. I kissed her that night with a desperation she didn't understand, clinging to the illusion that I could still be hers completely. But in the back of my mind, I knew. The line wasn't just crossed, it was obliterated. And sooner or later, someone was going to get hurt. If you've ever juggled two lives, you know the exhaustion that comes with it. The constant lies, the rehearsed excuses, the mental gymnastics of remembering what you said to whom. It eats at you. At first, I thought I could handle it, that I was clever enough to keep both worlds intact. But lies are fragile things. The more you build, the easier they shatter. The first slip was small. A text. Anna had messaged me late one night. "I miss you. I want you now." I thought I'd hidden it, set up enough passwords and precautions. But Elena saw the preview on my lock screen when I left my phone charging in the kitchen. "Who's Anna?" she asked casually over breakfast the next morning, buttering her toast. For a split second, my heart stopped. Then training kicked in. New girl at work. She's been helping with the project. Elena didn't push. She nodded, smiled, moved on. But her eyes lingered on me a second too long, as if she sensed something beneath the surface. That was the beginning of her suspicion. Meanwhile, Anna grew restless. The secrecy that once thrilled her had turned bitter. She wanted more time, more of me, more proof that she wasn't just a hidden chapter in my life. One evening, lying in her bed, she said the words I'd been dreading. "When are you going to leave her?" I froze. The ceiling fan whirred above us, the only sound in the silence that followed. I don't know," I admitted. She sat up, her hair falling into her face, her eyes burning. "Don't know? You've been telling me for months that you love me. Was that a lie? I do love you, and I meant it, God help me. But it's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple," she snapped. "Either you want me enough to choose me, or you don't." I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. That night, for the first time, I left her apartment without kissing her goodbye. At home, Elena was waiting on the couch. It was late, and she was in her robe, her face pale and tired. "You've been working late a lot," she said quietly. "Yeah, deadlines. Is that all it is?" Her voice was calm, but I heard the fracture beneath it. I wanted to tell her the truth, to unburden myself, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I nodded, lied again. She studied me for a long moment, then just whispered, "Okay," and went to bed. I sat there in the dark, drowning in shame. I had two women, both slipping through my fingers, and I couldn't bear the thought of losing either. The following weeks were a blur of tension. Anna grew colder, more demanding. Elena grew quieter, more distant. I was unraveling, stretched thin between them. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach clenched. Every glance from Elena felt like an interrogation. Then came the night that changed everything. Anna showed up near my office, unannounced. She wanted to see me, couldn't wait any longer. We sat in my car, parked on a side street, kissing like teenagers. I told myself no one would notice, that we were safe. But when I came home that night, Elena was waiting again. This time, she wasn't calm. "Where were you?" she demanded, her eyes sharp, her arms crossed. "Work," I said automatically. She laughed bitterly. "You really expect me to believe that? Do you think I'm stupid?" My throat went dry. "Is it her?" she asked. "Anna." The sound of her name in Elena's mouth was like a knife. I opened my mouth to deny it, but nothing came out. Silence can damn you as much as words.
Elena's face crumpled.
She turned away, pressing her hand to her mouth like she was holding back a sob. I reached for her, but she flinched. "Don't," she whispered. "Just don't." That night, I slept on the couch, and for the first time, I realized the life I thought I could balance was collapsing, faster than I could stop it. Anna wanted me to choose her. Elena knew enough to know I'd betrayed her. And me? I was caught in the middle, paralyzed by my own cowardice. The glass had cracked, and soon it would shatter. There's a saying I once heard, "You can't ride two horses with one ass." Crude but true. For months I tried, stretching myself between Elena and Anna, convincing myself I could manage it. But balance is an illusion. Eventually, gravity wins. After Elena confronted me, the house became a Cold War zone. We still spoke, still went through the motions, work, dinner, chores, but the warmth was gone. Every word felt loaded, every silence heavier than steel. She never mentioned Anna again, but the name lingered in the air, unspoken yet constant. Anna, meanwhile, was done with patience. She pressed harder, calling me during dinner, sending messages I couldn't explain away. She'd swing between passion and fury, clinging to me one moment, pushing me away the next. "You can't keep doing this," she told me one night as I slipped out of her bed. "You're breaking both of us." "I just need more time," I whispered. Her eyes hardened. "Time is running out. I should have listened." The breaking point came on a Sunday. Elena and I were supposed to visit her parents. She was in the bedroom, getting ready. I was in the kitchen, scrolling through my phone, when Anna's name flashed on the screen. "I can't do this anymore. If you don't tell her, I will." Panic gripped me. I shoved the phone into my pocket just as Elena walked in, adjusting her earring. She noticed the look on my face. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing." Too quick, too sharp. Her eyes narrowed. "Show me your phone." My stomach dropped.
Elena.
"Show me." I hesitated a second too long. That was enough. She snatched it from my hand before I could react. Her fingers flew over the screen, her face going pale, then red. When she looked at me again, her eyes were filled with something I'd never seen before. Pure hate. "How long?" she demanded. "Elena, please." "How long?" Couldn't lie anymore. "Months." She staggered back as if I'd struck her. "Months? While you came home to me, slept next to me, smiled in my face." Her voice cracked, but the fury didn't fade. "You disgust me." I reached for her, desperate, but she shoved me away. "Don't you dare touch me." She stormed out of the apartment, leaving me standing in the wreckage of my own making. That same night, Anna called. "Did you tell her?" "Yes," I said, my voice hollow. "She knows." There was silence on the line, then a sigh. And she hates me." Anna didn't respond right away. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer, almost pitying. "You thought this would end with us riding off into the sunset, didn't you?" I had, somewhere in the back of my foolish mind, I thought our love would conquer everything. That passion would make the pain worth it. But hearing her voice, distant and tired, I realized how naive that was. "We burned too fast," she whispered. "Maybe we were never meant to last." The line went dead. I sat in the dark that night, staring at nothing. Elena gone, Anna slipping away, and me left with the bitter taste of betrayal. I had chased fire and ended up scorched, my hands empty, my heart torn to pieces. The thing about choices is, even when you refuse to make them, they get made for you. By the end of that week, Elena had moved out, staying with her sister. Divorce papers followed a month later. Anna quit her job soon after, transferring to another branch. She didn't tell me. I heard it from a coworker, like an afterthought. In one brutal sweep, both of them were gone, and I was left with silence. I used to think the worst part of betrayal was the moment it's exposed. The shouting, the tears, the door slamming shut. But that's not true. The worst part comes after. The quiet, the emptiness, the realization that you've destroyed something that can never be rebuilt. The apartment felt like a tomb after Elena left. Her things disappeared little by little. Clothes from the closet, books from the shelves, her favorite mug from the kitchen. Each absence was louder than her presence had ever been. I'd open a drawer and find it empty where her hair ties used to be, and the hollowness would hit me like a punch to the gut. I tried calling her. At first, she wouldn't answer. Later, when she finally picked up, her voice was ice. "There's nothing left to say," she told me. "Elena, please." "No, just that one word, final and sharp." Then silence. I wanted to believe Anna would be there for me, that we could piece something together from the wreckage. But Anna vanished too, as quickly as she'd come into my life. She stopped answering my calls, ignored my messages. One day she was everywhere, the center of my world, and the next she was gone. That was when it hit me. I hadn't chosen either of them, and by refusing to choose, I'd lost them both. The weeks that followed blurred together. Work became mechanical, a routine I stumbled through without passion. Colleagues whispered, though no one said anything to my face. I knew they'd noticed Anna's sudden disappearance, the tension that had hung in the office for months. People always notice. Nights were worse. The bed felt enormous without Elena beside me. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything over and over. The first touch, the first kiss, the lies, the fights. The look on Elena's face when she realized the truth. It haunted me. That mix of pain and disgust, as if the man she thought she knew had never existed. I told myself I'd been searching for passion, for life, for something more than routine. But what I found was emptiness. The fire burned bright, yes, but it consumed everything. Sometimes I'd catch myself scrolling through old photos. Elena and me on our honeymoon, laughing with sunburned faces. Elena asleep on the couch, a book on her chest. Even pictures of Anna, blurry, stolen moments when she wasn't looking. Each image felt like a ghost, mocking me. I started drinking more. Not enough to spiral, but enough to blur the edges. Enough to make the silence tolerable. Friends noticed, tried to pull me out, but I kept them at arm's length. How do you admit you blew up your life for nothing? Months passed. Divorce finalized. Elena gone for good. Anna a memory. And me sitting in the ruins of choices I thought I was too clever to pay for. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't just destroy the people you betray, it destroys you too. Piece by piece, it strips away the illusions you built about who you are. I used to think of myself as a good man, someone decent, loyal. That illusion is dead. I see myself clearly now. Weak, selfish, afraid to face the truth until it was too late. I don't know if that makes this confession redemption or just self-punishment. Maybe both. Maybe neither. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: love isn't a game of balancing acts. You can't split your heart in two and expect anyone to come out whole. Passion fades, lies rot, and in the end, you're left with nothing but ashes. And yet, sometimes late at night when the world is quiet, I still think about them. About Elena's steady love, about Anna's wild fire. I wonder if either of them still thinks of me. I wonder if they hate me, or if I'm just a shadow in their past. What I know for certain is that I'll carry this with me forever. The love, the lies, the loss. It's etched into me like scars under the skin. This is my confession, my truth, ugly, broken, and real. It's been almost 5 years since everything fell apart. I'm older now, grayer at the temples, a little heavier around the waist. My friends joke that I look distinguished. But the truth is, the lines on my face aren't from wisdom. They're from regret. Life went on, of course. It always does. After the divorce, I sold the apartment. I couldn't stand the ghosts in those rooms. I moved into a smaller place near the river, quieter, lonelier. Work became my anchor, the only thing I could control. Eventually, the whispers faded, and people stopped looking at me like I was the villain of some office soap opera. But I never really outran what I'd done. I haven't spoken to Elena in years. Word drifts back through mutual acquaintances sometimes. She moved to another city, remarried, even had a child. I'm glad for her. Truly, she deserved a love without betrayal, a partner who wouldn't cut her open with lies. Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks of me, but mostly I hope she doesn't. I don't deserve a place in her thoughts. As for Anna, she's a ghost. After she left, I never saw her again. No news, no updates. It's as if she evaporated from my life as suddenly as she appeared. I used to search for her online, desperate for scraps, but I stopped. It wasn't healthy. Maybe she's happy somewhere, maybe she's restless still. Maybe she tells our story from her side, painting me as the villain I was. I live a quieter life now. No grand romances, no fiery affairs. I date occasionally, but nothing sticks. I've built walls around myself, tall ones. Too tall. Every time someone gets close, I find a reason to push them away. Part of me fears hurting someone again. Another part fears being hurt in return. So I stay in this middle ground, safe but empty. Sometimes, when I walk along the river at night, I replay it all in my head. The moments of passion, the lies, the collapse. And I ask myself the question that has haunted me for years. Was it worth it? The answer always is no. Not because Anna wasn't real. She was. Not because the fire didn't burn. It did, brighter than anything I'd felt before. But because I destroyed something steady, something true, for a rush that couldn't last. Passion fades. Trust, once broken, never returns. I traded forever for fragments, and the cost was everything. And yet, I don't hate myself entirely anymore. The man I was then is not the man I am now. I've learned the hard way what love demands, what it deserves. I've learned that desire without honesty is poison. That passion without commitment is just fire-consuming wood. If there's redemption in this story, it's only in the telling. Maybe someone will hear it and recognize themselves on the edge of that same cliff. Maybe they'll step back before they fall. If so, then my mistakes won't be wasted. Do I still believe in love? Strangely, yes. Not the reckless kind that drove me into Anna's arms, but the patient, enduring kind I once had with Elena. The kind I was too blind to see for what it was until it was gone. Maybe one day, if I'm lucky, I'll find it again. Maybe I won't. Either way, I carry this truth with me. You can lose yourself in fire, but it's water. Steady, life-giving, unglamorous water that keeps you alive. This was my confession, my failure, my truth, and my reminder to never forget the cost of betrayal.